These next two matches are gonna decide in the upper bracket who's gonna advance to the grand finals, and in the lower bracket who gets eliminated in fourth and who gets to keep their playoff hopes alive. So without further ado, let's get into the games. First up, Fnatic versus NRG, and then after DRX versus PaperX. And as always, we're gonna take a look at the map vetoes and how they're gonna shake out. And here we are for Fnatic versus NRG, and this is once again a interesting matchup where both teams have been perma-banning the same map. Right, both Fnatic and NRG have been perma-banning Sunset. So what we're gonna do is the same that we did last time as well. We are gonna take a look at what happens if Fnatic bans first, and if they end up banning Sunset, which I think, or in the other case where NRG bans first, and if they then end up banning Sunset, with how that might shake out. So yeah, let's start with the Fnatic one. So Fnatic obviously ban Sunset, and then NRG probably ban Haven, I think. And I think the other two options for NRG realistically are either Abyss or Bind. Abyss was a map that they did ban before in their first rotation, but they also won twice on that map in overtime, so I think they might feel more confident on that map. And then for Bind, they it was always banned in the second rotation, and 3 out of the 4 times it was banned by themselves, so they haven't played that map yet in at champs. So that might be a strong candidate, but I would say I prefer them banning Haven, since they got destroyed on that map by DRX, who lost to Fnatic on that map. Now, granted, DRX looked better than Fnatic on that map, but yeah, then after NRG destroyed Giant X on that map, but then they just got destroyed by MIBR on that map. Plus, it's just been one of Fnatic's best maps, so I think it makes a ton of sense to get rid of that map from NRG's standpoint. And then for the map that Fnatic might pick, I think it's between Abyss, Bind, and Lotus probably. For Lotus, the reasoning would be that Fnatic won twice on that map thus far, but I think it would be a big mistake since it's a great map for NRG as well. Then for Bind, I think I mean, the reasoning is Fnatic did pick it before, so they clearly are to some degree confident on that map, but they did lose twice on Bind that tournament already, but it's not a great map for NRG. It's probably their worst one, apart from Sunset, which is a permaban. And then the last option for them is Abyss, which they won on twice, plus it's a meh map for NRG, I would say. So to me, it's between Abyss and Bind for sure, and I think they I think they would favor Abyss by far, since they lost on Bind when they picked it. So probably a Abyss pick by Fnatic. And then for NRG, I see them picking Corrode. It's been their best map thus far this tournament. They picked it 2 out of the 3 times when they could pick it in the first round. And yeah, they like all 3 times when this map was played, NRG won on that map. They look like probably the best Kuro team, so that's a given that they would pick that map and are favorites to win on that map. And then for the second rotation of bans, I think Fnatic are gonna get rid of Ascent, just based off what I've said before. There's reasoning behind why they would pick Bind or Lotus, so right? It's they would feel more confident on the other two maps, so that just leaves Ascent for me as the map that they would get rid of. And yeah, in general, it's not a great map for them themselves, and it's one of NRG's better maps. But I am kind of worried that Fnatic might not choose to ban it since they picked it twice in the tournament already. But I think just based off the results and based off how they looked on that map this tournament thus far, I don't think that they should still have any confidence on that map. I think they should be eager to ban it against NRG. And then for NRG, yeah, as I said, Bind, I said it in the first rotation of bans that it was always banned in the second rotation for NRG. They could choose to ban it in the first rotation, but if they don't, they are for sure gonna ban it in the second rotation of bans. And so that leaves Lotus as the last map remaining, which I think is pretty much a 50-50 map. And yeah, I think there's arguments for either of these teams being better on that map, and especially with Brock abusing the Odin really well. Especially that is a great angle for as to how NRG might win on that map. But I do think that I favor Fnatic slightly just based off of individuals, because it would be like the final map in terms of who's gonna go to the grand finals and has the advantage of getting the 2 map bans, which is huge. So because of that, I think I favor Fnatic quite. Yeah, I think I do favor Fnatic based off of individuals if Lotus ends up being the last map. But yeah, now let's take a look at if NRG ends up being the one who bans Sunset. I think Fnatic are then gonna get rid of Corrode. And yeah, Fnatic banned Corrode in 3 out of their 4 games in the second rotation. Plus, as I've said before, NRG looks like the best Corrode team, so that makes sense to get rid of for Fnatic. And then in terms of picks, and I could see NRG picking Abyss, Ascent, or Lotus realistically. For Abyss, it's a map that they won on twice, and because of that, they might be really confident on that map. But it's been a great map for Fnatic as well, so because of that, I don't think that they should choose to pick Abyss. And then for Lotus, they NRG picked it once, and they won on that map twice in total, but it's also a good map for Fnatic, which is why I think NRG should choose to pick Ascent, which they look great on domestically, but they have not picked it yet or haven't played it at all yet at Champs, so that kind of leaves question marks for me as to why that is the case. But I do think NRG should be confident on that map since it's not a great map for Fnatic, but I could realistically see them picking Lotus as well. And I think I might favor them on Lotus actually if it isn't the last map, since, yeah, what I've said before, I think it was just the individuals where I saw Fnatic winning over NRG if it's the last map. And then if it's the second map, I think maybe NRG might take it. But I do think NRG are gonna pick Ascent and are gonna win that map, since Fnatic has not looked great. And then for Fnatic's map pick, I think they're gonna pick Haven. They just picked it versus Paper Rex and destroyed Paper Rex on that map. They also won at the beginning of Champs was MIBR on that map, and then they won that in that comeback win versus DRX. So they're 3-0 in total on Haven, so they should feel confident on that map, and I do see them as heavy favorites on that map. And then for the second rotation of bans, with NRG, it's the same as we've had before. NRG always banned it in the second rotation of bans. If it wasn't banned by their opponents first. So yeah, they're gonna get rid of that for sure. They don't want to play a map that they haven't played thus far as the deciding map. So then for Fnatic, it's between Lotus and Abyss. And yeah, for the same reasons that I've said before as well, I could see them choosing to play either of these maps, but I do think they should get rid of Lotus just because it's the better map for NRG, and they should choose to play Abyss, where I do see them as favorites as well. So would be a 2-1, 2-1 for Fnatic. Either way, but much more so when NRG are gonna end up banning Sunset. So maybe we see a world where NRG picks first and they choose to leave Sunset open because of that. So yeah, I would say Fnatic's map pool overall is a bit stronger, so I would lean a 2-1 for Fnatic over NRG. Then for the second match, DRX versus PaperX. For the first rotation of bans, DRX and PaperX both had perma bans in Sunset and Abyss thus far. Now, funnily enough, in the last matches that both of these teams played, they didn't ban their perma bans, right? DRX left it open since it wasn't a great map for MIBR, but they still lost on that map. And for PaperX, they left it open since Team Heretics has always banned Abyss as well, right? Right, it's been a perma ban for both Team Heretics and PaperX, so PaperX left it open. And apart from that, they always banned it, so I do see these teams sticking with their perma bans again, since these are also great maps for their opponents, so there's not really a reason as to why they would leave these maps open. So for DRX, I think they will pick Haven. They, except for the last game again, they always picked Haven if Abyss got banned. So with Abyss being banned, I do see them picking Haven again, even though they didn't do so versus MIBR. I still think that, especially versus PaperX, and I think more so than versus MIBR, Haven is a great map for them. And yeah, they've looked great all tournament long on Haven, and yeah, I don't see a reason why they shouldn't pick it, and I think they would be favorites on that map too. Then for PaperX, they could choose to pick either Ascent, Bind, or Lotus realistically, in my opinion. And for Ascent, they won twice on that map, but then also lost once. And for Bind, they also won twice, but then just got beaten by Team Heretics on that map. Plus, these maps are good maps for DRX as well, which Lotus kind of isn't. Plus, PaperX are 3-1 on Lotus, so they won 3 times and then lost versus Fnatic. But Fnatic, they looked better than Fnatic on that first half, and then on the attacking half they crumbled versus Fnatic. So I don't hold that too much against them. Plus, it's not a great map for DRX, so I see that as a good pick for PaperX, and I do think that they are heavy favorites on Lotus. And then for the second rotation of bans for for DRX first up, I think each of the remaining 3 ones has, like, there's realistically a world where DRX chooses to ban it. But I fear, and as I've picked, I think they're gonna ban Corrode, even though I don't think they should, since it's PaperX's worst map, and I hope that they don't because of that. but yeah, they're 2-0 on Bind and 3-0 on Ascent, so I just think they're gonna get rid of Corrode rather than these other two maps where they feel more confident, even though Paper Rex is better on that map. And then for Paper Rex, I think Paper Rex are happy to play either of these two as the remaining map, and I think they are favorites on either map as well, but I do think that they probably favor Bind just because they picked it versus Team Heretics, and even though they got beat by Heretics on the map, I still think they're probably gonna favor Bind over Ascent, but realistically it could be any of these two maps, and I would favor Paper X either way. So in my opinion, it's gonna be a 2-1 for Paper X. And yeah, I don't think there's too much of a possibility for DRX to really have a shot to shake things up. I think Paper X has been clearly the better team, but maybe DRX proved me wrong. And so yeah, that's the two matches that we're gonna get on Friday. And yeah, I hope they're gonna be great, and I'll see you guys next time.